Today, a surprisingly amazing little gadget, a dock that is perfect for Mac or PC users that travel with a camera and a laptop. It's designed for us. Well, hey everyone, it's Hudson. Welcome to this week's video. I'm going to be showcasing this little tiny box that solves a lot of problems for me when I'm out on the road with my laptop. And so we'll talk about that. I'll dive into why I think this thing is so cool. It's the dock case USB Studio Hub, and it has kind of the dream set of ports and power, and I'm blown away with how well it works. And I think a lot of you photographers that take your gear out on the road and have a limited number of ports on your Mac or your PC laptop are gonna find it's a pretty amazing little powerhouse of a rectangle. So small, light, cool travel companion. I'm also gonna talk at the end of the video about some cool new Milky Way optics I have to test and a tracker that I have to test, and give you a little preview of some stuff to look forward to in the weeks ahead as we come into Milky Way season. Some really cool new tools to go alongside some new cameras that we've got, like the Nikon Z6 III coming out. So I'll talk a little bit about that at the end. So let's jump in. Let's talk about this dock case thing. And I've got the LG OLED TV that Rick and I take on the road to do image reviews and train when we're doing workshops. When we drive El Jefe, wherever we go in the contiguous United States, we tend to bring this big screen along with us because it's got a really, really great color rendition. So I'm gonna show how this little guy can drive that from my laptop, along with a lot of other stuff. The ports on this thing are just sort of shocking. It has CF Express A and B ports, SD port, micro SD port, HDMI, power delivery up to 80 watts through to your laptop, so direct connect through USB-C, and two 10 gigabit per second USB ports. One's USB-A and one's USB-C. I remember thinking when they told me about this, well, that stuff's not going to work that well, right? Well, it's been a shocker to me. I'm going to use their little included 40 gigabit per second cable and plug it into my laptop's USB 3 port. And you see it's got a nice little touchscreen. It picks up a fingerprint or two here and there. And it's getting 15 watts pull from the laptop. But I'm going to take my little Minix travel charger that's plugged in on the power strip in front of the TV over there and run 80 watts in from it to the power delivery connector and reverse that flow and start feeding it into the laptop. And we can see that change. So there it says 80 watts, power delivery, 20 volts. I can click on it and it gives me a bunch of information. Max input 100 watts. I can go back to the main home screen on this. Oops, there we go. Whoops, there it is. You gotta swipe. So, all right, that's set up and working. Well, let's plug HDMI. I got the HDMI plugged into the back of this LG TV. I'll go ahead and get that thing booting up and turning on and go ahead and plug in the HDMI. And that should let you, in a second here, see my laptop screen come up writ large. There it is. All right, you're seeing what's going on here. And I'm gonna open up my Windows File Explorer, put it over on the left side of the screen, and we can see what devices and drives are connected. And we're going to check speeds as I plug things in here. And you can see, once again, it's showing that we got the LG TV plugged in here. It's got a bunch of information about the TV itself. I can swipe back and get to return to the main screen. All right, so I don't have a CF Express A card to test in this. Unfortunately, Rick's not around with his Sony, but I do have a CF Express B. I'll go ahead and slide that guy in there, right into the slot. And that should come popping up any second here. There it is, Nikon Z8. All right, boom, it's popping up, or actually that's a Z9. So that's gone ahead and popped up. And then I can put a micro SD card in here. This is the terabyte Lexar micro SD card that I run in my Z8 for video. It's a relatively fast little guy. Boop, popped up. ZF is there. All right, let's throw in a fast Lexar SD card. Well, it's not the fastest of SD cards, but it's relatively quick. It's interesting, the micro SD card goes in upside down under the SD card slot. I imagine the CF Express A might be the same. let's throw in a USB drive. It's not a very fast USB drive. It's an A stick. I often get images from people after a day of shooting on USB-A. Boop, that popped up. USB drive H right there. It's a 250 gigabit drive. All right, and then I'll plug in a fast data connection cable and power up this Samsung T7 drive. That tends to be what I put my Lightroom drive on and backup drives. Boop, there's that. I see that T7 Shield Drive D popped up. It's a 4 terabyte drive. Boom. All right. So it's handling all that stuff. It's telling us what temperature the power delivery port is running. All right. Well, let's test the speeds. Okay. So I'm going to pull up my Blackmagic speed test, and I don't even have to superimpose my screen because you guys can all see it right here, and I can choose what's my target drive. All right, so we'll look at this PC here, and let's look at that fast T7 SSD drive first. I'll select that, and let's run a test on that guy. Woo, 900 megabytes per second flowing through the hub. That's write speed, by the way. Probably similar on read speed. Interesting. Seems to be a little bit slower on read speed. Sometimes that's true the first time running through. But I mean, that's about as fast as the native USB or the Thunderbolt drive on my laptop can run it. Okay, that's fast. Let's check a different drive. We'll go. Let's keep with the speed. We'll select a different target drive here. The thing that's crazy is running it all at the same time. Let's go with the Z9. That's the CF Express B card. So we'll select that folder. We'll hit test. This one I notice, maybe this is sort of the maximum threshold of this dock is up around 900 megabytes a second. Here we're coming in a little bit under that, right around there for read speed. I get about 1,200 megabytes per second read speed with my big OWC desktop, the Pro, OWC Thunderbolt Pro dock that I love here on my desktop. And I get about 1,400 megabytes per second read speed. But again, this has a huge, power brick. I can't take this on the road with me. This is what I have on my desk here at home to plug in 10 gigabit Ethernet, and it's got a fast CF Express B reader. This is plenty fast enough. And the fact it's got CF Express A, CF Express B, SD, and micro SD is pretty nuts. Speaking of those, let's stop this test and we'll go in, select a target drive. I'll go back to this PC. Let's go ahead, let's do that let's see, the Z8, that's a card I was using in the Z8 I used recently to update my settings I borrowed from Nikon. That's the SD card. It's not the fastest SD card on earth, but geez, 166 megabytes per second write speed. It's not too bad for an SD card. I think that's the maximum speed of this card. I tested it over on, on the OWC drive. I tested it on the fast built-in drive on this laptop. I get exactly the same numbers. It's like 167 for write speed. I can't remember. Read speed might have been slightly faster. Let's see as it tops out here. Read speed. Yeah, I think it got up to 190 maybe by the time it was done. We don't have to wait for that. It gives you an idea. All right, so let's have a look at the micro SD card and make sure that's working at the same time as all these others. We'll jump in. That's the Nikon ZF. That's that terabyte micro SD card. It's only a silver, Lexar silver. It's not the fastest, but I mean, for micro SD, 120 megabytes per second read is pretty darn fast. When you actually look at this, it'll do just about any 4K video except 60p ProRes when you look at the Blackmagic speed test. It'll do anything I want to do with my Nikon ZF for video on a micro SD card, and I've tested that by shooting 45-minute 4K 24p 10-bit interpolated or downsampled video from the full frame. No problem at all, never broke a sweat. So that's pretty crazy, 120 megabytes per second from a micro SD card. I think the read speed was about the same if I remember correctly. Here comes the read speed. Yeah, it's a little faster, 150. All right, so we'll hit stop. And you can see, it's telling us that 2160 at 24 frames per second pretty much can do it, even ProRes. All right, so we're going to check one more thing, and that's our little slower drive, the USB. It's not going to be that fast. Just a memory stick, a SanDisk little memory stick. Yeah, slow as you would expect, old school. But still, you know, it's great to download images from people on a workshop. So, you know, to my mind, this little guy is a lifesaver on the road. You know, I've got more ports than a lot of the people running, say, the latest MacBooks have. I've got a USB-C charging port, and I've got 2 Thunderbolt 3 ports on this particular laptop. The later versions of this is a few years old now, have 2 Thunderbolt 4 ports. But, you know, you tie up one, like right now I've got the network running into one, but to have a hub that has your CF Express card of choice, your SD card of choice, the ability to plug in a memory stick from workshop students coming in, feeding you images, or 2 hard drives at the same time if you're backing up data from one hard drive to another, to send the image out via HDMI, to show people looking on a big screen what you've captured while you're out on the road, to feed power delivery in through that same port to your computer at 80 watts, that's pretty nuts, you know. I got to say, I think it's definitely built for those of us who do photography. I mean, it's definitely some photographer designed the hub that they would dream of having on the road with their laptop and made it tiny. You know, it's just this little cable and this. And you bring your own charging cable. This cable will charge my Z9 or power my laptop through my Minix charger, charge up my phone. And that Minix charger has 4 ports on it, so you can charge multiple things at a time. Pretty darn cool, and the whole thing comes in this little box. So like I said, this thing's on Kickstarter. It's on Kickstarter for another week after this video launches approximately. And it's gonna retail for $200 when it comes off Kickstarter, or $199. And I believe you can still pick it up for $159 over on Kickstarter. These guys, Doc Case, have run a number of, I think 11 Kickstarters before this. I think this is their 12th. They're at 10 times their goal already on this, so clearly they're gonna do just fine with getting these out to people. I love mine, and you'd have to pry it away from me. So if you have need for multiplying your ports and having it be this efficient and nice, I've run this all day, multiple days, and not had a hiccup with connections. So it seems rock solid. And the little LCD screen is just, you know, more coolness to boot. It's giving you data about what's going on with it at all times. So I really, really like it. I've got a link to that in this video's description. You click on the title or show more. Of course, I have links to all the gear that I use and recommend always over at hudsonhenry.com/ATS links. And I'll put this guy in the digital darkroom section. You can just click here and go right over to that if you're interested. So I promised I'd talk about some cool stuff that I'm testing for Milky Way season. And I got the Laowa 10mm 0D in the mail. I had been working with them. I ordered one for myself, and it hasn't come yet months later. And I talked to the folks at Laowa, and they sent me this guy to test. They're not letting me keep it, but they're going to let me test it. And so I will get that out there, checking out Milky Way with it. 10mm full frame, 2.8. I also have already been doing a little bit of testing with Viltrox's new 16mm 1.8 lens, and it is really, really nice. The testing that I've done, it's sharp, and in my initial testing, I haven't been able to do any stellar Milky Way with it, but I did a little bit of star photography on a family camping trip early in the spring, and it has nice sharp corners with no coma. It actually reminds me a bit of my favorite star and Milky Way lens, the venerable Nikon Z 20 1.8S lens, which is the best star lens I've ever used on a tracker. 16mm just gets you a little bit more sky. It seems like really similar results. So I'll be testing that all out and showing you results And I'm using the new Move Shoot Move Nomad tracker. All my night gear, the links to this Nomad, I've updated to this from the old Move Shoot Move. There's nothing wrong with the old Move Shoot Move, particularly if you modified it like I talked about with that QD that Leo Photo makes just to make things a little bit more secure with a heavier rig. But this one is more purpose-driven. It's simple to use. It's easier to charge and know what's going on. It works really well with sighting in with the laser and then locking your focus with a polar scope. I'm linking to the set with both the polar scope and the laser because I think it's super functional, and I'll show you exactly how to use it. And this locks down a much heavier load and locks it securely. You don't even have need for that kind of accessorizing it after the fact with QDs to lock the tripod down. This thing won't spin loose on you. It's very, very cool. And I've just used it a few times, but been impressed. I think it's a worthy upgrade. It's not like anybody with a Move Shoot Move needs to run out and get rid of the old one and get the new one. But if you've been on the fence a little while, this tracker is awesome. I'm putting a link to that in this video's description as well. And if you run into that ATS Links site that I put up earlier and go to night night photography and lighting, you'll find the link to that in there under Move Shoot Move. I updated it. It's definitely the one to get. All right. So, you guys have any questions? You have any comments? Let me know. Again, you can always sign up for our next office hours. It's going to be after we come back from the Glacier workshop next month. That you can sign up, find more details. We're going to talk about culling. We're going to talk about building a portfolio, about bringing images down to just your best, and also some tips and techniques for dealing with things like wildlife photography, where we capture thousands of images, and how to deal with all of that in the wake of capturing all of them. And we'll give some tips and some tricks. We'll answer people's questions. So you can sign up and leave us a question. Click right here, run over to hudsonhenry.com/office hours. All right, everybody. Remember, this guy, another week, you can get it for, essentially $40 off retail. Seems like if you want it, now's the time to grab it. That link's in this video's full description. All right, everybody. So I hope you're out there staying safe, staying creative. We'll see you next week.